Four French drivers at the French Grand Prix trying to win this on the final lap. They're three wide again. Guillaume down the inside. Guillaume moves across. They're both in front of Milan and Pouget.
But before you know it, we find ourselves here in the very final race of the competition.
And then they see truck racing and they think, this is crazy. You know, these are 5-ton machines, 1,200 horsepower brake. Oh, look at that switchback. Oh, you can look and a drift is going off.
Ben Gregory now. I love this. 10.5 minutes gone. Senna Lanson tries to go for the race lead.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Chaz Draycott Media, and welcome to rounds 13 and 14 of Season 5 of the sim racing magazine GT4 Challenge. It feels like forever since we were last on the air with the championship back at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya for round 12. My name's Chaz Draycott, delighted to be once again in the commentary box with recent race winner Ed May joining me. Ed, you're still buzzing after yesterday's result in, funnily enough, in GT4 cars, but we come here tonight to Zandvoort for a very interesting night of sprint racing.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chaz. It's been a while since I've been behind the wheel, but honestly, nothing beats being in the comms box with you, mate, talking over the SRM GT4 Challenge. It has been one heck of a season, hasn't it, up until this point? And after the action at Catalunya, where we saw the Satellite Racing Blue teammates make it yet another 1-2 after their win just a few weeks ago, wasn't it, at Zandvoort, not Zandvoort, Zolder, the other circuit starts with a Z, I'll get them confused, but it was Zolder where, again, they had some fine form. They are really making a great late season charge. I know we should hopefully have the championship standings up to view, and it does paint a pretty picture, at least for one of the Porsches, isn't it, Jake Cranstone?
Yeah, absolutely. Jake's been fantastic at the moment, really on form and constantly getting podiums and top fives and all sorts, and now he finds himself 33 points clear at the top of the championship. It is Taylor Adams just behind him still, but Nils Kaur is only 1 point back now with Ayrton Williams next up in the standings. So it's very, very close between those guys behind Jake Cranstone, and it's looking good for Satellite Racing Blue in the teams championship. I mean, Kaur and Williams, 351 points there. Only 5 points now between Apex Racing Academy and Regenta Sim Racing. But let's not forget as well, we've not had Taylor Adams for a couple of rounds, and he is now back here this evening, hoping to help his teammate get the points back on the board and, of course, help their charge further up in the championship order. I mean, it's looking still good at the moment for Satellite Racing Blue, to be honest, Ed, as they sit second, well, first and second, separated by 10 thousandths of a second right now, with less than a tenth covering the top three. So Satellite, once again, on form in these Aston Martins.
Yeah, and it's the driver who's having his first outing, isn't it? His first season with us for the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. Ayrton Williams, he's a driver that we really did stand up and take notice of, wasn't it, at Indianapolis the season opener where he showed some great pace. Took a little while to adjust, I think, to the format, but once he's done that, he's really looked like a driver that can mix it up there with the very best, at least by his practice pace, and as well his results over the past few races definitely show that he has got what it takes. Both himself and Nils Cole working together brilliantly to break away, isn't it? Just a little bit from Apex Racing Academy. It was very close, almost a three-way tie, I think, at points between Satellite Racing, Apex Racing Academy, and Regenta Sim Racing. But now it seems like it's Satellites to lose in terms of the team's standings. We'll see, though, how the rest of the season goes, because Regenta Sim Racing have, well, I think it's fair to say, their talisman now back with us. Taylor Adams out on the circuit with some good pace, currently third fastest. See what he can do. Jake Cranstone, keep your eyes on him, driving the Porsche that I was expecting to maybe do a little bit better here tonight. Porsche very good through the corners, there's plenty of them here, but at the moment Jake only good enough for 7th fastest as it stands, and over half a second shy of the pace of our fastest drivers in those Aston Martins.
Speaking of fast Aston Martins as well, Dennis Van Beelen going really well in 5th position at the moment. He's put in a decent time so far. It is worth mentioning something, though, here this evening, and I want to bring everybody's attention to this man. Simon Price said he might not be joining us this evening as he is recovering from man flu, and that's not something you want to be doing on your birthday. It's Simon's 50th birthday today, I'm told. Sorry, 21st birthday, so I'm told by his wonderful partner, who sent me a message to make sure that I bring it up this week and embarrass him on stream, so we can all wish happy birthday to Simon Price in the YouTube chat. And I'm sure he's going to hopefully not be too frazzled by the end of the evening. But happy birthday, Simon, and we hope you have a great night's racing either way. Let's not forget as well, though, Ed, we've got 2 races here tonight, so it's not just a one-off endurance race for these guys to focus on. They've got 2 opportunities to do everything over the course of the evening, one a little bit longer than the other.
Yeah, of course, that's going to be something to really excite the drivers, how they approach one race to the next. But from my money, it does seem like the Astons just have the advantage. They're very nice to drive in these sorts of corners, very sort of fast and medium speed. You've got stability in the platform where you can just chuck the car in. It doesn't tend to move about on you. It doesn't like to kick out and give you that instability, which is something you really can't abide by. Whereas I guess the Porsche, with its slightly shorter wheelbase, how snappy and nippy it is, great at getting the car pitched into hairpins, tight braking zones as well. That car's so good on the brakes, but there isn't really any heavy braking zones to speak of. All of it's sort of about carrying the speed through the corners just because of the amount of camber we have on offer here at Zandvoort.
Yeah, it's a right roller coaster of a circuit. It's lovely, though. Really good fun to drive. It's a little bit painful in the middle sector. The cars that we look at here are Dan McCauley and his teammate Lewis Ward. We're just coming into the most painful sector of the circuit here because you've got a long right-hander and then you've got a long right-hand braking zone as well for this next one. This is box 9, just turn 9 basically, and then it's turn 10. There's a lot of different racing lines we'll see through here. People can go into the middle of the road, you can go all the way out to the right-hand side, or you can tuck it into the curb on the inside as well. A lot of people run different lines through there, and we're going to see that a lot, like I say, over the course of the evening. Lewis Ward following his teammate here for just a bit of slipstream here in practice, just to maybe get a bit of practice of that ahead of qualifying. You can cut a lot of that curb on the inside as well, it seems. Look at the amount of dust on the surface of that hairpin there, though, Ed. There was so much of it all over the track. It's just been dragged wide, hasn't it?
Yeah, and it is a slightly newer version of Zandvoort that we're running now. I can't remember when it was. I think it's fairly recently that they've introduced a rescan of the Zandvoort circuit, basically taking into account some of the changes that they've made to the venue after it made its Formula 1 debut, I think 4 seasons ago now, if memory serves correct. It's been let's look at that. It has not really changed in terms of layout, but in terms of some of the profile of the corners, especially this section we're coming up to now, the final couple of corners, is basically a bit of a different complexion. You know, maybe offers drivers a few more opportunities in the slipstream down towards turn 1.
Yeah, hopefully so. We'll have to see. Dan McCauley did say earlier to me, he sent me a message saying that the slipstream seems to be strengthened this evening. It's like the cars really do get some good draft down that start-finish straight. It's not what they expect, because we've seen it many times before, haven't we, Ed, that these cars, they're not always the most prominent when it comes to getting slipstream off one another. As we have now, the cars making their way out onto the circuit. You can tell when it's one of iRacing's more modern circuits, so the surface and all the details and the lighting just looks better, doesn't it? It just looks more refined.
Yeah, even a lot of the circuit architecture, I think it's fair to say. You can see the pit lane, the grandstands as well, all being given a nice shiny new look of paint, obviously remodelling a lot of the new buildings that have been built to get it up to the FIA Grade 1 standard. See as well, wonderful view from Matt Slight as he's going to be trying to work together with his teammate Taylor Adams. They like to try and do all they can, isn't it, to get up the order for qualifying, working together as a unit. Also try to be mindful though to not get in each other's way, because traffic could be a real talking point in this qualifying session. We've got so many cars, don't we, Chaz, here tonight, and this circuit, it's a very short lap when you consider just the amount of track space on off here.
Yeah, it's one of those weird circuits where it goes very wide and then very narrow in places. One of the real parts of this track that's going to be interesting tonight is that curb that the drivers are going over now. There's a lot of grass on the outside of that curb, but there's a very lovely tyre wall on the left, and we will see people clip that over the course of the night, because when these guys push hard, they really do push hard, and they will end up sliding wide of that corner on the exit, trying to find extra tenths of a second. Just clip that grass, and these cars have enough to completely spin on you. Taylor Adams goes on to his first hot lap of the night. We'll go on board with Taylor. It's good to have him back on our screens again. We've missed him for the last couple of rounds. He's dropped away from the championship lead as a result, but I can tell you he's certainly going to be in the mix tonight. Looked quite oversteery on the way into there, did the BMW. He barely had any lock on at all.
Yeah, going for a higher line just to carry the momentum out of this corner, because it is flat out all through these like twisty bends, taking the shortest line possible, really cutting the inside through there because it doesn't penalise you one little bit. That's the sort of margins that drivers are trying to find, the tiniest of millisecond gains. Riding the curb on the way into this right hander now, using plenty of it on the exit as well, and trying to straighten up the car just for a moment as you move into that right hand braking zone again. Some drivers like to take a slightly tighter line. I think we can see Taylor really opening out the corner, then aiming for a late apex as possible while carrying the speed out of the corner, and could just maybe attack it a little bit more. But again, this is just about getting a lap on the board. Tyres not up to temperature. This is the one, Chaz, you were talking about, where you can really cut it on the inside, chuck the speed in, because this corner, the amount of camber, it just hooks the car in. You can think you're going to overspeed and understeer out, but it just hooks up nicely. And in this corner here, just a little bit of a breathe onto the brakes and trying to get on the power as early as possible. A little bit hesitant there because he carried too much speed through, and then it's flat out all the way along the banking. Aim for a higher line, because then you get a little dip down, which gets you an extra little burst of speed.
Nicely done indeed, Ed. But you're absolutely right that the camber is important on this circuit, and there are places where when it levels out on the exit of a corner, it can really throw you towards the outside wall. It's Dennis Van Beelen that's fastest at the moment by 0.04 of a second. Now it's equal times with Guy Edwards, 1:40.673. 0.04 covering the top three. Never mind, Nils Kaur, reigning champion, goes quickest, and then his teammate outdoes him. Ayrton Williams next up to the top of the times. And it is mighty, mighty close, though. 0.3 of a second covering the top seven. Tom Stanley goes up there. Well, I heard tonight that the... I think, was it the... Oh, no, it's not. It's the... Who was it that said they weren't coming tonight? The Nomad cars, apparently. Jamie Pounder said he and Tom Stanley can't make it this evening, but Tom is here. So he's luckily managed to get a decent lap in already. He's now gone outside of the top 10 because it's gone that quickly while I was trying to find out who it was that said it. That this all, I mean, this field is just such a high level at the moment. They do not let us have a break.
Impressive, isn't it, though, from the Aston Martin drivers? 3 of them in the top 3 spots. It's great to see as well. Satellite Racing Blue continuing their final run of form, Chaz. They are the pair to beat right now, Ayrton Williams and Nils Kaur. seemingly really getting into fine form right at the business end of the championship, and that's when you want to have it, isn't it? When you can really start to turn the squeeze and put the pressure onto some of those drivers chasing you in the championship. Just following now, Lee Vedra. I was going to say we've got 2 boosted cars, but it's not 2 boosted cars. It's just a very boosted-ish livery, isn't it, from Stephen Burns for Top of the Pops?
It really is as well. It says addicted to punts or something like that on the side of it, I think they've said. Yeah, it's instead of, I think, addicted to beats. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's instead of addicted to bass, it's addicted to punts. And these guys are lovingly changing their livery every single round for our entertainment and putting a lot of effort into it as well. This is their latest instalment. We've still got 2 cars that haven't set times here, one of which is the second of these Mercedes, Lewis Ward for the Apex Racing Academy, right up behind his teammate Dan McCauley now, using him for the slipstream. They work together and do this very well. We've seen it on multiple occasions. And as they head out the final couple of corners, that barrier and that little fence is going to do my head in all night. I need to move that camera. But as they come around the final corner, looks like Lewis getting some decent slipstream here. That's going to help him out a lot. Purple sector in the middle, 2 green sectors either side, and it's enough for 3rd place for Lewis Ward. Nils Cornet and Williams playing an even better team game, it seems, with 1st and 2nd at the moment.
Yeah, look at the times as well. Nils Cornet and Williams could be able to find a little bit more. And just looking at the times that they did in practice, they are into sort of the mid 39s. So there's still time for the tyres to get up to temperature and warm up. Ben Childcraft with a different colour, and it's representing the Dutch orange, it seems. Got an orange Porsche just up ahead of him as well. That is Jake Cranstone, Masters of Torque, currently in 6th place, but I think he's on a better lap now, Jake, so you might see him jump up ahead maybe of one of the Astons, Dennis Van Beelen, into the pits.
Ben might be wondering which way the circuit goes and wondering if it's the way to Amarillo, because that's the name of the beer that is on the side of the car from the Saltaire Brewery. And Ben, a teammate of ours, of Ed and mine, in the Evolution Sim Racing GT4 Championship, which we were racing in last night. I'm not going to talk too much about my results, but these boys both got 2 top 10s out of the 3 races on the evening.
Ben made it 3 top 10s actually. I only made it twice, so he got 3 of them.
He's a show off, isn't he?
Yeah,
absolute show off. He did say to me earlier, though, to quote him, he said that the livery might be the brightest part of his evening tonight, as he's not really raced Zandvoort before and practice wasn't going well. But he's currently down in 23rd place. I'm sure he'll still be having a good time either way. Oh, better time than Heinz Mayer, who's off the circuit there at turn 1. We look here at another Porsche of Toby Ward, car number 66. Toby, very entertaining driver, very lovely chap as well. Great shot of them going round that curve there. I love that long bowl-like corner. Really is beautiful. And look at the run that they have down here towards the long right-hander at the bottom of the hill. It's fantastic to see it, isn't it? Looks like they're going so quick considering their GT4 cars.
Love how it paces well. They're really attacking the curves. The car's bouncing up and down, really showing how much the drivers are pushing. They're using every single component of the car to its maximum. Toby Ward, they say, currently just a little bit shy of the top 10. He's trying to touch more pace, maybe a couple of tenths, and he'll be right up there. Just shows, though, is there fine margins at stake in this Racing GT4 challenge. We say it race upon race, season upon season, the standard of competition just keeps growing and growing, and do have a couple of drivers here tonight, with this being their home race. This is one of them, Matthias Tem for Fury Simsport, just inside the top 20. Dennis Van Beelen, the other Dutchman, flying high up, well, inside the top 5 just for a moment, but Guy Edwards just gets ahead of him. Drops Dennis down into 6th, but Guy Edwards, Ferrari Simsport with a very nice time there.
Yeah, good stuff out from Guy. 4th position at the moment, just behind Lewis Ward, just ahead of Taylor Adams. And what can you say about these Satellite Racing Blue Aston Martins? They are flying. Really, really doing well. It's very good to see. We've always enjoyed the Aston Martin in the championship. I think the last time it was fully competitive was when you and was it Andy that was driving it with you, your teammate at the time?
It would have been,
1.
yeah, Andy, me and my teammate Andy Hopley, and then I think Simon made a switch to it partway through the season. If memory serves right. So it was a very, very nice car to drive back then, but sadly it seems that hasn't really been improved upon since then. It still has the same sort of gremlins and bugbears where it struggles putting the power down, whereas after driving the Porsche yesterday, you put the car down, it gets to the traction control, but it doesn't kill the speed whatsoever. It actually does what traction control is supposed to do, helps you out while sort of maintaining the speed, controls it, which is rather with the Aston, the way it controls it is by killing any sort of speed you've got.
Yeah, it sort of allows a bit of a slide. There's a limited slip to it. It's just like having a limited slip diff on the car. It just allows you that little bit that you can get away with so you can carry momentum and it doesn't completely kill you on the spot, like you say. So, more and more times coming in. It's Nils Corrett, Williams, Lewis Ward, Guy Edwards, and Taylor Adams, the top 5. Dennis Van Beelen, Jake Cranstone, Ben Idris Abdullahi, Tom Stanley, and Dan McCauley completing the top 10 at the moment. Chris Jennings going quite well at the moment, the privateer. He's currently in 11th spot, having a decent run. He's ahead of fellow Mercedes driver Ian Pfeiffer. Rob Sharp in 13th, Matthias Tem 14th. No Simon Povey here this evening, unfortunately. So we're not going to see Simon up there near the sharp end. But it's mighty, mighty close. Matt's slight at the moment, down in 22nd position. Matt's having a bit of a torrid run of things at the moment, this part of the season.
Not seeing any Spontex cars at all, actually, which is a bit of a shame.
Yeah, Don Brennan is not here either this evening, unfortunately. He messaged me earlier on today just saying that he wasn't going to make it. But all is good. We hope the guys are well and enjoying their evenings. No Drew Fletcher here tonight either. He's in the YouTube chat saying hello and let's go Goffin. Obviously his teammate Paul Goffin in the SRM yellow team. This gorgeous throwback to the Newman Porsches. Looking lovely on the little 718 Cayman GT4. Nils Corr back at the top of the order though, Ed. This is just the Nils Corr that we knew from last season winning the championship. He's taken 2 wins on the bounce now after not winning all season. And he's once again on his way to pole position with just 3 minutes left on the clock. This is the supreme German engineering that you mentioned in the past.
Yeah. I love how aggressive he was as well through that chicane, really taking a lot of speed into it and through it. Just confident that the camber would help him out a lot. Doesn't seem to be getting any improvements just because obviously he's been in clear track, not really having anything or anyone around to help him out. But still, a very impressive time. Nevertheless, just seeing if either there's a late improvement from any of the other drivers trying to chase him down. Where's Lewis Ward at this moment in time? Doesn't seem to be improving through any of his sectors just yet. Ben Idris Abdullahi, though, he's improving quite a lot. He's faster in the first and the second sector, so we'll see what the BMW does over the line. That should jump him up a few places. It does jump him up into 4th. A big improvement there from Ben Idris Abdullahi. Away from where was he? 8th, I think, up into now 4th place. Gets onto the second row of the grid alongside Lewis Ward if qualifying ends the way it seems to be at this moment in time. Let's not forget as well, because we have 2 races here tonight. It's a heat racing format, so the drivers won't be able to complete the laps that they are on. So every second in qualifying is going to count for that little bit more.
Yep, so basically as of now, no one from Ben Chalcraft back will be able to do another lap. I think that's put pay to that one for Ben. Chris Jennings there in the background, and then the 2 current top 2 drivers, Nils Coronet and Williams, together on the track there, trying to attack this final section. You can see just how much they're using. A little bit too much there for Eton, and even more for Guy Edwards behind them. Very, very close to the track limits, if not over them. And across the line they go. Minute on the clock. Improvement in the final sector for Nils Corr. Does he go even faster? No, he does not. To 140.5, so half a second off that time round. Stephen Codman next up across the line in the Walliams racing machine. They've got the new livery tonight that's reminiscent of the early 90s Williams that we would have seen. I think it's a throwback specifically to the 1992 car that they have on the cars. His teammate Mark Johnson's just about to come across the line as well. See what he does. Little kiss of the grass on the left, just letting it wander slightly. He only needs 0.06 of a second to beat Ben Chalcraft, and he hasn't got them, unfortunately. 30 seconds left now, and here comes Dennis Van Beelen.
There's Van Beelen, the Dutchman on home soil, with a couple of improvements in that final sector.
Nice.
And a nice jump up there into 5th place. Lovely time there from Dennis. Just at the front of the 3rd row. Taylor Adams, can he improve as he's coming up to the line? Doesn't seem to be. He's settling for 7th, but does importantly find himself ahead of Jake Cranstone. But right now, even though I don't think they'll be able to complete the time, Nils Court, purple in that first sector, won't count for anything. But regardless, he still has pole position for the first race of the evening.
He absolutely does, and he gets a championship point as a result of that. Looks like we're going to do a full lap here around the circuit for the formation lap. So we've got a bit of time to make our way through this lovely grid. Nils Court, reigning champion, pole position again with Ayrton Williams alongside him. That'll make Satellite Racing Blue very happy. Lewis Ward is going to start from 3rd place with Ben Idris Abdullahi alongside him. And then the home race for Dennis Van Beelen is going to be started from 5th on the grid. Guy Edwards is 6th after a really decent qualifying. Taylor Adams and Jake Cranstone, the top 2 in the championship, on the 4th row of the grid. Tom Stanley is then next up ahead of Dan McCauley for Apex Racing Academy. Chris Jennings, the privateer, will start in 11th. I think that might be his best qualifying of the season. He's ahead of Matt Slight, who's having a bit of a tough time in the championship at the moment. Ian Pfeiffer will start from 13th, with Rob Sharp in 14th position. Matthias Tem is next up on home soil. He'll want more out of the race than he's had from qualifying. Toby Ward starts in 16th. Next up is another boosted car of Lee Berridge ahead of Stephen Burns. Ben Chalcraft will start from 19th spot on the grid with Mark Johnson alongside him. His teammate Stephen Codman is directly behind him with Paul Goffin on the 11th row with him. Then next up in 23rd is Martin Kenyon joining Toby Johns on the 12th row. Then we have Ryan Penny and Heinz Mayer together on row 13. Kim Such and Simon Price make up row 14. And then at the 29th and final position, we have John Roberts in the boosted Motorsport McLaren. Perfect time to give a big shout out to all of our championship sponsors here in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. Thanks very much to Orris Digital, Crockery Direct, Derbyshire Holiday Homes and Bespoke Shelters. We appreciate all of you and love your support. Hope you all enjoy the broadcasts, enjoy the series and enjoy what you get together to do, basically, because we certainly love doing it. Nils Court, though, pole position here, Ed. I'm sure I can hear music. Maybe a little bit of pressure here from Nils Court anyway. Starting from the front, he's in form at the moment. He's got a hell of a lot to uphold, though, hasn't he, if he's going to keep that going?
He really does, and it's not going to be easy around here. Well, this is a circuit where overtaking is not going to be, well, too abundant, I think it's fair to say. Still needs to make sure that he has a clean race with 0 mistakes, which on a very technical and punishing circuit such as Zandvoort, it's easier said than done. But he's in the perfect place with the perfect car in behind him to help him out. His teammate Ayrton Williams will be looking to try and make it yet another Satellite Racing 1-2. Got Lewis Ward and Dennis Van Beelen behind, though, that'll have certainly something to say about that. And also, one thing I really want to look out for is going to be Taylor Adams against Jake Cranstone, because that could be a very interesting fight in terms of the championship picture as well.
It absolutely will be. Let's not forget as well the cars near the front. Satellite Racing Blue, both of their cars, and both of the Chicane Online Racing cars in 4th and 5th. Those guys all really get on very well as teams. So Nils Court came from Chicane Online Racing to Satellite Racing Blue, and they all work hand in hand together. I remember even last season when it was only Nils and Dennis. Even though Nils was racing for Satellite Racing with his teammate Ryan Walker, Dennis was in voice chat with him the whole time, and they were talking each other through the races, keeping each other company. So I'd argue that even here they might even work together. So it's Lewis Ward that is really outnumbered right now. You could consider those 4 cars around him to all be in the same livery. It's like a presidential convoy, basically, for Lewis Ward right now. He may be an absolute superstar in this series with 2 championship titles to his name, the most of any driver, but it's certainly not the favoured place to be. The pace lap is very, very slow here as well at Zandvoort, it seems. I thought I'd ticked a shorter lap on all the circuits where it was available, but clearly not, so I owe the drivers something to apologise for. Mike Murphy in the YouTube chat. It's good to see you, Mike. Hope you're doing well. We were racing together last night in the Evolution Sim Racing GT4 Championship. Well, sorry, GT4 Sprint Series. I'll give it the proper name. Mike also driving the Porsche in that series. We stole his ex-teammate Ben Chalcraft away from him, though, didn't we? So
yeah, we did. We had a good little laugh about that actually in the race, the first race, where it was myself, Chalcraft, and Murphy all together on the track together. It was quite a good little battle actually with Mike. Hopefully, you're doing well, Mike. It was great to fight with you. I didn't actually. I tried to scare you, but I didn't actually want to overtake you in the end because I knew that I'd get on the front row, and it worked out great for me. So cheers very much, Mike, for getting ahead of me. Loved it, and yeah, it's been very, very good qualifying. Let's hope that the race here tonight lives up to it, because it is going to be very busy in towards turn 1 with as many cars barreling down at high speed.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's already a gap being left, isn't it, from Nils Core to the safety car?
Yeah, indeed. He's left a bit of a gap before now, but started to really back it up with these final few corners. There's a couple of the cars further back, I think, have had a bit of shenanigans, having to stop almost as they come out of the hairpin. Nils Core is really backing this up. He and his teammate Ayrton now will go pretty sharpish, I think. They'll try and catch Lewis Ward off guard. Lewis trying to tuck in behind them. But here we go, everybody. Safety car makes its way into the pit lane here at Zandvoort. And round number 13, the first sprint race in the final quarter of Season 5 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge is go. And Nils Core is away, and Lewis Ward has done really well to match him, actually. Look, he's side by side still with Ayrton Williams. They might have tried to work together on that, but it certainly hasn't been all slim pickings for the drivers behind. Everybody now tidy into the first couple of corners. There's 3 wide there. I think it was Chris Jennings on the inside, had to get out of it. Dan McCauley is around the outside of the car in front of him as well. That's Tom Stanley. And this is Matt Slight that we look at now, right in the thick of it with Jennings just tucking in behind him. Everyone now going around the banking. There's contact there between Matthias Tem and Chris Jennings. Tem tries to find a way around him, doesn't work this time round. Nils Core leads, and he's got Lewis Ward all over the back of him, Ed.
Lewis really putting the pressure on these opening few corners. Look how aggressive that is. Love to see that from Lewis. Already deciding to really pile it on to Nils, but it's so tricky to find any sort of overtaking room around here. He's forced Nils to go a little bit tight, which could help him out. Find as well up on the inside. There's a spin just up ahead. Oh, dearie me, that's Dan McCauley.
Down in the middle of the road, there's a damaged Mercedes in the middle of there as well. I could see Mark Johnson's had a big old biff in the rear at some point over probably on the even the warm-up lap, actually, as Dan McCauley now gets back on with it. I'm not sure if that was just self-inflicted or whether he had a bit of contact there, Ed. No.
Look, it just goes around really late on in the corner as well.
Yeah. It was like it was on a gear change up, wasn't it? That was really strange. It
was like the handbrake gets sort of chucked on. That's
great avoidance from those behind.
Yeah.
Very, very good avoidance. As Paul Goffin has just had an issue. Paul has lost a bunch of positions. Lee Berridge has been involved here, as Mark Johnson is now off the road in his Mercedes. Mark Johnson going straight on and back on again. Let's have a look at what happened here with Lee Berridge. Oh, I don't know if he got clipped there by Ben Chalcraft.
I heard a noise of car contact, but...
Oh, I haven't gone back far enough. I do apologise. It's hard to tell, isn't it? But it's
like
Mark Johnson
already
tries to come through. Oh, Goffin lost places as a result of just staying out of the way. And then Mark Johnson went off. We've also had Tom Stanley have a drama, and now Martin Kenyon as well. We'll catch up with this into turn 1. Oh, the Aston didn't want to play ball there. What happens to Kenyon? Does he have a similar fate down at turn 1? Oh, just clips that curb on the inside.
Yeah, causes an unbalance, that inside right tyre up onto the curb. Look at this though. Lewis Ward has been piling the pressure on the last lap. He continues to go forth. BMW's off.
Ben Idris Abdullahi goes spinning. I really hope that wasn't contact with his teammate, because Dennis Van Beelen just got past him. Was there anything going on? No, look at that. It just goes that's a really strange slide. That's similar to Dan's.
It's really similar to that. It's similar to what we also saw to, was it Tom Stanley earlier as well in the Preston Nomad car. It's very strange that it's the Aston Martins and the BMWs having those moments where it over-rotates on corner entry. That's something that we're not used to seeing, as Ayrton Williams now with a lovely run, getting squeezed into the wall there, managing to keep himself just about alongside in towards Tarzan. But again, Look at how tight his line is. He's going to struggle to carry any sort of momentum through. And once more, Lewis Ward can hang on to second place. But a lovely little bit of race between them. Didn't want to back out at all, did it? And he was shown the wall, but kept his foot pinned to it.
That was great stuff by Lewis Ward around Tarzan as well. Really kept it tight around the outside. Nearly clipped the front end of that Aston Martin, but did a great job of getting by. Toby Ward is having a bit of a ding-dong here with Stephen Burns. He's lost a lot of momentum there, actually, and now Stephen Codman is all over the back of him. He's going to try and make a move on the Porsche just in front. Up over the top of the hill, there you go. Hard onto the brakes, through Shevlak to try and keep it tidy. A bit further ahead, Chris Jennings is suddenly on the back of Matt Slight with Rob Sharp behind as well. And I tell you what, actually, Chris Jennings is doing really well here. He won't mind me saying, I'm sure he's usually a little bit further down than this, but he's putting some decent times in qualifying, and he's right amongst it now, just outside the top 10 in this Mercedes. Let's not forget as well the reverse grid element of these two races. He could really be quids in at this point.
Certainly could be. That's something as well that we haven't really mentioned, is the reverse grid potentially being even more important around here, just due to the nature of the circuit. How tricky it is to overtake could factor into some of the drivers and the way they approach this first race, knowing where they could find themselves come the second with that reverse grid. Guy Edwards with following on board with the McLaren now, as he has Jake Cranstone just up ahead of him. Jake himself actually close in behind Dennis Van Beelen. Train of cars sort of neutralising any benefit from the slipstream in towards Tarzan. But look at Guy, the amount of pace he takes into the corner. Almost looks for a moment like he was going to go for a move on the outside, but tighter line being taken by Jake Cranstone means he can get on the power earlier and open out the corner a little bit more on the exit. Start to back away or drop off, I think I should say, from the rear end of Dennis Van Beelen and Ayrton Williams though.
Yeah, Van Beelen gaining a little bit more in that first sector there than Jake did. Let's not forget though, Jake leading the championship at the moment by a considerable margin, so he's in a great position. He started 8th on the grid as well, so he's really benefited from the early lap shenanigans. Ben Chalcraft has gained 7 places, so too has Ryan Penny for Orris Racing Green. His teammate Kim Such just in the background there in the other BMW has gained 8 places so far. He's the biggest mover in the field in all of this. Kim enjoying a good old ride in the, let's call it the old M4. Is all down the inside there. Tom Stanley making a move. John Roberts is off the road. He's had a bit of a drama down there at Shevlak. Just running wide and getting back on very quickly. Dan McCauley and Lee Berridge together here on track. They're fighting their way through turn 9 in towards turn 10. Dan will want to gain places back after earlier. Look at all this in front of them though. Paul Goffin lost a bit of momentum, either that or he gained a place. Well, yeah, him and Kim Such are actually fighting away there, and now Tom Stanley, who is also recovering, has gone through as well in 20th position. Side by side here between Kim Such, sorry, not Kim Such and Simon Price, it's Lee Berridge and Simon Price. I'm getting my names confused here. There's so many cars moving up and down so often, it's hard to keep an eye on who's where. Niels Core and Lewis Ward are side by side for the lead though here, Ed, and Lewis is trying it round the outside into turn 1. Contact!
Try and force them to go tight, and that's Niels Core round into the wall, and more jumping up into the air to contact with the barriers. That promotes Ayrton Williams up into the lead, and Jake Cranstone steals himself up into second place.
Lewis Ward out of the race. Lewis Ward jumps away from that one. I mean, it looked like on our angle there wasn't enough room on the inside left there by Lewis, but that was only the initial idea. That was not cricket.
We'll have a look and see if
not
Lewis
like
Ward
Lewis at all.
Did force him to go too tight. Knows obviously that's the way you get through on the corner.
Yes.
Yeah, you can see that the Aston has 2 tyres on the inside curb at the point of contact. But again, it's just a case in iRacing where once the cars make contact, they get stuck together.
Yeah, yeah.
Wouldn't happen like that in real life, of course. And it's just a case of
I think there was
to maybe approach overtakes a little bit differently, just taking into account the way that the netcode can work out. As look at Kim Such now, right in the thick of it. Look at the line. Oh no! I was about to say, look at the dive up the inside by, I think that was Lee Berridge, but unfortunately he seems himself in the barriers as well.
Yeah, I think he just jumped off the curb a little bit there, didn't he? As he went down the inside. Down the inside, bounces that tiny bit wide, and that just hooks him across the front of the BMW and hard into the barriers. Engine first as well in the McLaren. That's not going to do it any favours. But look who's benefited from all this. Jake Cranstone up into second position now ahead of Guy Edwards, Dennis Van Beelen and Taylor Adams, who is the next car in the championship. Nils Kaur and Lewis Ward both out of the race, unfortunately. And that was gearing up to be an epic battle, but that one misjudgment is what cost them. And Nils, I know, will be raging after that one because of the form that he and this man, Ayrton Williams, have been on recently. They've been certainly flying. That will not go down well.
And with a little bit of a twitch at the rear end just onto the grass, that's going to allow Jake Cranstone to reel him in. Now it is just Ayrton Williams flying the flag solo for Satellite Racing Blue at this moment in time. Can Jake Cranstone get another race victory to add to his tally this season? Needs to focus not just on the race but also the whole championship picture. He has the advantage to those in behind, and obviously with the likes of Nils Kaur not seemingly going to be scoring many points, or any actually by the looks of things. He's in the pit lane right now. Does mean that Jake is going to take an even bigger leap forward in the championship.
Does indeed. They're not going to like that behind. 31 points going into this race it was, and there was 90 available. You get 20 for winning one of these races. And let's not forget as well, in these sprint races, it's 1 point per position. There's no sort of massive increase for winning the race. So it does encourage a little bit of patience even in sprint racing. The fact that if you finish second, you're not going to be 5 points worse off like you would be in the feature races, or the, sorry, not the feature races, in the endurance races. Nils Kaur is actually heading back out of the pit lane though. He's trying to get some points. It's top 20 scores points, and oh, look at that, he's come right out where the leaders are. That's not going to be handy. He's going to back out of this one, I think, and let that group go at least, and then maybe just sit in there. You can see a flash of the lights there from Taylor Adams as he says, please, please Nils, just let us by. Could really do with it. Stephen Burns and Toby Ward are having a good old scrap here. They're just in front of Stephen Codman. Let's keep an eye on this lot, shall we, Ed? Because 3 different manufacturers here, 3 different teams. This could be a good bit of a laugh.
Yeah, we'll have a look at Stephen Codman now. Lovely launch, isn't it, out of the corner. Really reeling in the Porsche. The double sixes of Toby Ward. Not going to be able to catch him to make any sort of overtake just because of this very high speed right-hander where you just need to sort of guide the car in on the brakes. Very difficult to hook the apex up. As we can see from Stephen Codman's point of view, it's just tricky to get the front end pitched, especially when all of that weight's put over that front axle in the Mercedes. Not necessarily the car that most people would want to be driving, but it seems to be working out for at least a couple of them further up the order. Ian Pfeiffer and Matthias Tem in their Mercedes doing quite well. Matthias actually up 8 positions since the start of the race. Ian Pfeiffer up 7. So things going well for them thus far. Actually, Ian Pfeiffer finds himself in a very good position, not necessarily from where he is, but actually where his teammate Nils Kaur is. Nils Kaur knows that he doesn't want to get himself involved in the fight with the cars up ahead. He could decide to drop back a little and help out Ian with some slipstream, but it seems to be maybe a little bit late if he was to go and do that now, because, well, out in front, actually, Jake Cranstone's going for the lead. We'll put a pin in that battle, because look at this, Jake Cranstone around the outside of Ayrton Williams. Championship leader going for the race lead. They continue to fight it out now into Hugenholtz, and with the inside line, the speed taken in from Jake Cranstone.
Oh,
gonna get caught out though, maybe by the exit speed of it, and Williams getting the switchback. Lovely little move. They continue to fight side by side.
Oh no!
Get with a squeeze, and now he's around. Oh, don't get caught up. Oh, that's gonna be a big
Taylor,
accident, and that's
Taylor Adams.
Jake out, and championship contender Taylor as well.
Out of all people that could have got caught up in that there, Taylor Adams, definitely not one of them that wanted to be any part of that. Jake Cranstone is going to try and continue on in the car, but there's one car either side of the circuit here. That's not going to be comfortable for anybody coming through. That was a colossal impact. I don't know how that car is still operating. I think it's very broken, actually. You can see it wiggling.
Yeah, both Jake and Taylor, I think, need to go into the pits and get their cars repaired, and that's going to see them outside of the reverse grid positions as well for the second race, which is coming up now. Let's have a look. Is it a case of maybe not enough room being left?
Yeah.
I think it is. I don't think Jake leaves enough room because, again, Ayrton Williams has got 2 tyres on the curb on the inside.
Yeah, I think even with netcode considered there, I still think that there wasn't enough room involved in that. Was there contact after that? Because I heard something from Jake's car. Ayrton's on the line, and so quickly how he just goes around faster than you can say anything. I think when Jake gets away here, I think it just makes a noise as he gets... Oh, it's Jake hitting the wall. I was going to say it sounded like there was more contact, but there definitely wasn't. Now look at this for a battle for the lead. Guy Edwards in the McLaren against Dennis Van Beelen in the Aston Martin. Matthias Tem now up 12 places ahead of Matt Slight in 4th. Some of these guys have had a belter. Ben Chalcraft said the livery was going to be the brightest part of his night tonight. Never mind that, Ben. He's 13 places up now from 19th on the grid up into 6th. Just 6 minutes left of this race as well, Ed. This one's flown by.
Yeah, what actually happened to Ian Pfeiffer throughout all of that? Because I know Matthias was having a battle with Ian earlier.
Oh.
So dear.
For the second time in a row, someone turns into the rear quarter. Oh my goodness me, Rob Sharp there with the vengeance. Oh, Rob.
Oh, flipping it.
Rob Sharp there. I mean, I shouldn't laugh, but second time that I don't know if that was Nils running wide or Lee turning in where it wasn't wanted, but Rob just purely understeers. I bet that felt awful from Lee's perspective.
All of it's kicking off, and actually, if we could, Chaz, see if anything's on the event for Ian Pfeiffer and Matthias Tem, because those two were battling out side by side, weren't they? As we then went to the battle earlier on. This was Ian Pfeiffer actually.
Ian car's broken already. It's already broken.
Yeah, already damaged.
The right rear was broken for something.
He was having a bit of a tussle with Matthias Tem.
Yeah, I think that was the Prestanda Nomad car he was in there with.
Which we looked away from because it was the Jake Cranstone and Ayrton Williams battle that we sort of briefly shifted the focus towards, and then it all just sort of kicked off. But like you say, Chaz, this is a lovely little battle for the race lead, isn't it? And looking up the inside, Dennis Van Beelen trying to go for it. The guy was braving it all the way around the outside. Oh, flipping heck, Dennis, calm it down.
I know that Aston's got a lot of traction.
Actually, in the top 3.
Yeah, we have actually. This home soil for the Dutch guys. They're absolutely loving it out there. They're reveling in the moment. I was going to say that Aston's got a lot of traction control, Dennis, but don't push it. Flipping heck. He was really keeping it pinned around there then. He didn't want to left off at all. And now there's a bit of a gap ahead to Guy Edwards in the McLaren. Guy has been in the series for a few seasons now, and he's always been there or thereabouts, always a consistent point scorer. He's always been a feisty one for RD Simsport, and now he leads a race here in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. He's doing very, very well out front, but Dennis Van Beelen just behind. There's got, well, to be fair to Dennis as well, they've got a big gap over the cars behind here, Matthias Tem and Matt Slight, so they've got a long amount of time to be able to give up if they want to have a fight. So Guy can defend for his life here and not worry about the pack catching up, and Dennis can also attack until the cows come home, but he just needs to get back up behind him again, doesn't he, Ed? Because that gap has destroyed itself.
Yeah, I tell you what, there's something good going in the air for the Edwards at the moment. Guy Edwards seemingly on track for a win. Myself winning my first league race in God knows how many years now. Could be a very good result for Guy if he's able to keep Dennis Van Beelen at bay, and he's in the perfect place to do so, isn't he? That gap now 1 second. Don't need to worry about anything in behind. 3 minutes to go. Matthias Tem is, well, about 7.5 seconds back. So that's not really something that needs to be factored in. And then back towards this battle for 10th place, and it is Jake Cranstone who's been able to get that car, I think, managed to get it repaired and is now battling up. Could be salvaging at least some points from tonight. Oh, Idris Abdullahi. Cheeky look up the inside, but going to struggle on the exit. What on earth has been going on this race though, Chaz? It's just been bedlam.
It's just been nuts, hasn't it? Absolutely nuts. We do sometimes say that the sprint racing brings out a different animal, but this has been a different monster altogether so far. 20 minutes has flown by though. It's been very entertaining. But wow. It's I don't know. I really don't know.
It's kept us on our toes, that's fair to say. There's been a lot of action up and down the field, and speaking of up and down, Ben Chalcraft actually, driver who's gained the most positions so far. What was he saying earlier? That he's not going to have a bright race whatsoever. He's up now in the top 5.
Loving life is Ben. Having a very, very good time of it. at the moment. We've got top 10 positions on the grid reversed as well, let's not forget. So that's going to put, somehow, Jake Cranston's going to play the game here, and he's going to be on pole, well, second position for race 2 behind this man, Ben Idris Abdullahi, who's got a front row seat for all of this going on. We've got Guy Edwards now potentially on the final lap. I think he is on the final lap of the race. A minute and a quarter left to go. I think he crossed the line with about a minute and a half left, and it's about 1 minute 44 a lap here. So Toby Ward and Stephen Burns aren't going to move over on each other on a straight. I'm going to tell you that now for free. Two very dazzling liveries, but they're going to give each other room, and they're going to fight fair. Jake Cranstone down the inside. Side by side now, the little Porsches in the middle of all this. But look at the run that Toby gets. That's the beautiful bit about Tarzan. They get a great run around the outside, but Toby's forced to go deep into the corner because Jake Cranstone really throws one up the inside. And now Toby's going to lose out even more as Idris Abdullahi goes around him as well.
Toby lost out because actually there was a check-up with Stephen Burns. He had to get on the brakes to avoid going to the back of Stephen, and that was, I think, what caused him to drop back. But now he finds himself on that reverse grid pole position. Jake Cranston could still get another position here and find himself in 7th place after seemingly being down and out just, what, 5-7 minutes ago. Is that alive? Finds himself around. Needs to get himself up and running soon. Otherwise, Stephen Codman's going to get up into that 10th place, and he does.
He does
Codman
indeed.
has found himself on that reverse grid pole position.
Hook, line and sinker, you could say.
Love it. He's fished up a great result here. Wonderful stuff from Stephen Codman. But out in front, what a race it has been for Guy Edwards. He's just got one more corner to go. Oh, that was one heck of a race. And through it all, Guy Edwards, level-headed, comes out on top.
Well, Guy Edwards takes his first win of the season in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge from Dennis van Beelen, and Matthias Tem makes it 2 Dutch drivers on the podium. How do you like that, boys? Fantastic stuff. Matt Slight next up. Ben Chalcraft gets a top 5. And then we've got Chris Jennings in 6th. What a drive that is. Very well done to Chris. Stephen Burns just beats Jake Cranstone across the line. Jake, the only car that finishes where he started. How's he done that with an incident? Stephen Codman then will get pole position. Ben Idris Abdullahi misses out. Ryan Penny has a great drive up to 14th. I want to point out this driver, though, because Simon Price is about to round the final corner on his birthday, and he's about to score his first points in Season 5 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. Happy birthday, Simon. Brilliant stuff. He is buzzing with that, as you can see. What a birthday present that is. Fantastic stuff. What a feel-good moment, considering the driving standards were probably the worst we've seen for a while. Brilliant race. Brilliant, brilliant race.
Yeah, like you say, great feel-good story for the driver not feeling good at all. Man-flu is no joke, and Simon has really had a great result there. Absolutely. You love to see it, don't you? It's the little stories that can come through when you least expect them.
Yeah, definitely. They really do. That was a fantastically entertaining race, that one. We've now got a warm-up session for a couple of minutes, so we'll give you the race results from race 1. Guy Edwards takes the win the first time this season with Dennis van Beelen and Matthias Tem, both of the Dutch drivers, all of the Dutch drivers in the field, on the podium. How cool is that? Matt Slight finishes in 4th with Ben Chalcraft in 5th. Chris Jennings gets a top 6 as well, ahead of Stephen Burns. Jake Cranstone somehow still in a top 10. Toby Ward and Stephen Codman, who will get pole position. Ben Idris Abdullahi has 2 very, very weird slides in that race and loses positions. Taylor Adams finishes 12th. Tom Stanley is next up ahead of Ryan Penny, with Dan McCauley recovering to 15th place. Consider that Dan was right at the back of the pack. That's a really good recovery drive. Paul Goffin is 16th ahead of Martin Kenyon and then Kim Such, while Simon Price and John Roberts both score points. That is not John's first points of the season. I was going to say I thought he had more than that. I was just checking because I didn't want to completely big up the story for Simon and then it not be any for John. Just looking at Kim Such, though, he got his first point of the season last time. He's now got another one. So hats off to Kim Such. He's got another few, actually. Mark Johnson. Shut up, Chaz. Next up, Mark Johnson. Then Ian Pfeiffer a lap down. Rob Sharp 2 laps down. And then the other cars that retired. Ayrton Williams, Lee Berridge, Nils Kaur, Lewis Ward and Toby Johns out of that race. So a very attritional one there, Ed. And plenty to talk about in Discord afterwards, I'm sure.
Absolutely. It's been, well, one heck of a race. And I think you and I, Chaz, in this 10-minute warm-up need to, I think, just have a bit of a breather because flipping heck, that took a lot out of me. I've expended a lot of energy yesterday and I think I need to relax a little bit more to at least have anything left for that feature that's going to be coming up in, well, around about 8 minutes' time now.
Yes, indeed. So if you give us a few minutes, everybody, Ed and I are just going to take a quick break and we will be right back with you. Enjoy the pictures from warm-up. Hello again, everybody. Chaz, Draycott and Ed May here for Season 5 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. We have just completed round 13, the sprint race here at Zandvoort, and we had 2 Dutch drivers on the podium. How cool is that? We're just about to get underway for round number 14 of the championship. We're now into the final quarter of the season after we race here tonight. Next week we go to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve for the first ever time in the series history for an endurance race, and then we have a season decider, hopefully, at Fuji International Speedway, and it's going to be an absolutely belting time in this final quarter of the season. Thank you to all of you that have joined us so far tonight. We do appreciate every single one of you, and we also appreciate our championship sponsors as well: Orris Digital, Crockery Direct, Derbyshire Holiday Homes and Bespoke Shelters. Thank you to each and every one of you for your support. So, Ed May, a busy race that one. Yeah. A few incidents here and there, but wow, that was busy.
Yeah, it was certainly, from our race winner's point of view, Guy Edwards, very eventful. He was right in the thick of it and saw all of the action unfolding in front of him, but managed to keep himself, well, out of harm's way enough that he came through all of the carnage up ahead of him to take his first race victory of the season. I've lost count now of the amount of times we've had a different race winner so far this season. It just goes to show, though, that the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge keeps getting better and better every single year. And now we have to wonder what else it has in store with us with that reverse grid. Who was it end up finding himself? It was Stephen Codman, wasn't it? He found himself in the all-important 10th position to get that reverse grid hole to his name. Means, of course, that could throw a little bit of a surprise up in store for some of the drivers. Again, though, we will expect, I think it's fair to say, Jake Cranstoun to come through the race victory just because he found himself with a favourable grid start, didn't he, for this next race, which is going to be starting in just about half a minute's time.
Yes, absolutely. Stephen Codman's going to be buzzing for that one in the Mercedes, the Williams, effectively starting from the front row of the grid. I love how they've even gone to the point of putting the Sonic on the back of it as well. There was a great partnership between the Williams team and Sonic when I think it was when one of the games came out in the early 90s, and the Williams team was there.
Donington Park.
Yes, it was, wasn't it? And yeah, they had the Sega branding, I think it was. It wasn't. Was it just? I can't remember whether it was Sega. It was Sega, wasn't it? Yeah. But they put Sonic on the car as well, which is a really, really cool feature. And it's great that they've gone for that theme as well.
Hopefully, he'll be going fast. He's got to from pole position.
Hoping to run rings around people.
Oh, dear me.
Jesus.
Can't laugh because otherwise I'll start to fit of coughs.
Then you'll be Paul coughing. What? Right.
Oh, damn.
Anyway, we're going to get to the grid now. Warm-up has just finished, and as you see, the session will tick over. Everything will change, and now we've got our half-hour formation lap for all of these drivers to complete. And I'm looking forward to this one. See if there's any love lost in this second race of the night, shall we? Stephen Codman starts from pole position with Toby Ward alongside him. Jake Cranstoun starts from third, and with no disrespect to the drivers ahead, must be a favourite to win this one. Stephen Burns in fourth position is ahead of Chris Jennings. He said he had a nosebleed in that previous race. He was that high up. Ben Chalcraft will start from sixth. Matt Slight next up with Matthias Tem alongside him. Dennis Van Beelen is ninth with Guy Edwards, our race one winner, in the 10th spot on this grid. Ben Idris Abdullahi will be hoping for no more spins this time. Same for Taylor Adams in his BMW as well. They're ahead of Tom Stanley and Ryan Penny, with Dan McCauley in 15th position, Paul Goffin alongside him. Next up is Martin Kenyon with Kim Such for company, on row 9, ahead of Simon Price and John Roberts. Then it's Mark Johnson in 21st place, Ian Pfeiffer in 22nd, Rob Sharp is alongside Ayrton Williams on the 12th row of the grid, and then we have Lee Berridge joining Nils Kaur. Lewis Ward is 27th, Toby Johns is 28th, and championship sponsor Heinz Meyer is starting in 29th. As you can see, the field making its way down towards turn 1 for the start of the formation lap. I'm intrigued to see how a lot of these drivers make their way back through the order here, to be honest, Ed. This is going to be a very, very busy one.
Going to be manic, so I think just as much as the drivers need to have their work cut out for them, we need to as well, to try and bring everyone all of the action that's sure to follow do have a little bit of a breather though, just because of the pace of the safety car and the fact that it gives the drivers time to really think on how they want to approach this next race, and especially the run down in towards turn 1. Keep your eyes though on the bright orange Porsche, because you know that Jake Cranstoun is going to try and get up into the lead of this race as soon as possible.
Yeah, he really will. He's got to just be patient with it though. He's only got a few positions in front of him to gain here. Look, if we go on board, that's it. That's all you've got. You've got a Porsche and a Mercedes right in front of you. He's got Stephen Burns' very bright and beautiful BMW next to him, but we've got a very small amount of the grid in front of Jake Cranstoun right now, so he knows that this is going to be a long race. This is a longer one of the two, half an hour, but look at this. Further down, we've got the likes of Ayrton Williams, Nils Kaur, Lewis Ward down there as well with them. Rob Sharp as well. Rob's very fast. Dan McCauley's in the middle of the pack. Dan's been a top 10 finisher this season. He's 16th. Ben Idris Abdullah, he's down in 12th. It's certainly going to be busy, and let's not forget they're not drivers that are affected by the reverse grid either. They're drivers that are just starting from their previous race result. Toby Johns has made it out of the pit lane and joins up to the grid. So Toby forming up with the rest of the pack. But this is a bit of a nerve-wracking time, I think, because being on a reverse grid here, obviously it's not somewhere they've been through qualifying, so you know it's not always the very fastest drivers in the field that you get up there. But we've seen it before, haven't we, that they hold their own really well a lot of the time in these reverse grid races.
They really do, and it's something about just, I think you tend to race a lot where you qualify, and it can be the same from where you find yourself on the grid. You tend to race where you start, and oftentimes you'll find drivers having good races as a result of a favourable grid position. We'll see though how it manages to evolve. Jake Cranstoun with the inside line in towards turn 1 on Stephen Burns. So while he's in 4th place, he should be able to use that to his advantage. Just seeing now how Stephen approaches this, because we did see earlier that Nils Kaur liked to back the field up, whereas Stephen Codman, he's going to stay close to the safety car because that might potentially give him a bit more of a benefit in towards turn 1, with the fact that basically it's a shorter run if you're close to the safety car when it goes green.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those moments, isn't it? It's a very nerve-wracking time in the race. He's very close to the Porsche compared to what we saw from Nils Kaur earlier. The Porsche actually moves to the left very annoyingly before it then goes over to the right-hand side of the circuit. But with Stephen Codman leading us, round 14 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge gets underway, and already Jake Cranstoun is directly alongside Toby Ward. Stephen gets a great start for himself, though. Definitely no team games going on with anybody in the field at that point. Codman leads them into turn 1 for the first time then. We'll keep our eye on the order further down, see if anybody makes anything of it. Sounded like a little bit of contact further there. Ian Pfeiffer, I think, was the one running wide, just getting clipped, I think, in the rear corner. And already Jake Cranstoun takes the lead of the race around the outside. Taylor Adams is off the road, and he's around, and John Roberts is off in the gravel with him as well. Taylor Adams, well, I think this might put the championship to bed very soon. Might not be a mathematical putting to bed, but I tell you what, Ed, it's certainly looking more and more like Jake Cranstoun is going to have one hand on the trophy for winning the Season 5 Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge.
Yeah, he's already got one hand on the victory here tonight. He's gotten ahead of Stephen Codman and Toby Ward on this opening lap as Matthias 10. I was about to say he had a great start, but all of a sudden finds himself dropping back down through the field.
I think he hit the back of Chris Jennings there into the right-hander. Looks like some shenanigans back here as well. Rob Sharp trying to get past Lee Berridge. We've also got, is that Lewis Ward behind? Lewis Ward has got ahead of both Nils Kaur and, I was going to say Ayrton Williams. Nils Kaur off in that as well. Simon Price, the birthday boy. Rob Sharp, absolutely obliterated Porsche, sits at the side of the road. I think John Roberts has just had another spin in the background there. What was all that about? Was that Kim Such losing it to begin with? I think Kim lost the back end, didn't he? Yeah, Kim loses it on the curb. Dear. Johnson avoids it. Oh, I think Simon Price loses it and hits Lee Berridge into the incident. Nils Kaur takes to the gravel to avoid it all, and then ends up finding himself with a car across the front of him. So Kim Such loses it ahead. Yeah, Simon Price.
Price has a moment himself, actually, I think.
Yeah, he does. Definitely. And then Nils Kaur just bounces off everything around him.
Oh dear. I know that we don't have Simon Povey here tonight, but it feels like all of Simon's luck for the past few races has now been transferred over to Neil's court. Neil's just seemingly tonight cannot catch a break whatsoever, and all of that good fortune, good form that we've seen over the past couple of rounds, it's just for nothing, because you can have one race evening like this where nothing goes your way, and because of how sort of consistent the likes of Jake Cranstone are in terms of scoring points, you'll just drop back and have no way into the championship.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, on the subject of Simon Povey, this would have been the night for him to turn up, and everybody else's bad luck would have meant he would have had the result out of it that he finally deserved. But it just seems like that's not been the case. It's Dennis Van Beelen here, fights for Stephen Burns, the Scot and the Dutchman. Dennis Van Beelen gets in front. He's gained 5 places already as Dennis, having a really good run. He started 9th on the grid after finishing P2 earlier on. He's certainly making great progress to do it again here. If Cranstone wins, I think Van Beelen's definitely got pace to catch up with Codman and Ward here, with no disrespect to either of them. They're both doing a great job, but look how consistent this train of cars is, Ed. It's massive, massive stream of cars everywhere. I love it.
Beautiful, isn't it, to see all of the different models as well, all fighting up there. There doesn't seem to be one car that's more favoured than the other. We saw, obviously, in qualifying over one lap, the Aston Martins look quick, but in the race, every single driver, every single car has had its time to shine. I mean, at the moment, we've got 3 different actually, what is it? The top 5, 4 different manufacturers. We've got Porsches, we've got Mercedes, we've got the Aston Martin, and we've got the BMW as well, that's been sort of on its sunset season, I think it's fair to say. It's been moved off to pasture after this season, but it's good to see it still getting some good racing, good results. Oh my word, this is close for Ben Childcraft, giving plenty of room. Doesn't want the incidents that happened earlier to happen to him. Matthias Tem, look how brave he's going all the way around the outside. Matthias, has he got that move made? Flipping out, that was lovely stuff there.
Very, very brave from Matthias Tem. If anyone's going to back out, it's not Matthias. Ben just shimmies the car to the inside a little bit there, just to give Matt Slight the idea that he's definitely not going to be able to go through down the inside. Martin Kenyon wants to look up the inside now in the McLaren. Let's put Matt under pressure. Martin tucks it in very nicely down there. He's going to gain the place, or is Matt going to have the run? Because the outside line really works there. That's one of the best things about Zandvoort. There's so many corners where the outside line doesn't necessarily mean that you're completely done for that corner. Slight goes down the inside, cuts across, tries to block off Martin Kenyon, but watch Martin now in the McLaren. He's going to take a later apex, potentially get the run. No, I don't think he got the power down soon enough, but it's like a speedway oval in a way, a lot of Zandvoort, because you can use the outside line, and as long as you carry the pace well enough and get the grip, put the power down, you will get that run on the on the sort of straighter exit, let's say.
I think you've really hit the nail on the head. It's very sort of like a speedway-esque circuit, Zandvoort, where you can, if you get the outside line, carry the momentum, I think is the main thing.
Yeah.
It's a very momentum-based circuit, Zandvoort, just because of the camber, the speed you can take through the corners. And again, the favoured line, because of the camber, is so different to how the line would be if the corner was just flat, like a Tilke circuit, no camber whatsoever, just nice and flat. It'd be much better. So, oh dear, Goffin has had a moment, so has Mark Johnson, right in the middle of the circuit. Careful how you get up and moving, Mark. Ooh, just about.
He styled that out.
Through that unscathed.
He styled that out afterwards, so fair play to him. But yeah, luckily the avoidance of the cars behind was very, very good there. He and Paul Goffin both around, maybe just a little bit of contact into that hairpin. It's easily done though. Very easily done indeed, and Mark has actually decided to park it for the race. But at the front though, Jake Cranstone, championship leader. He's made this work once again. Started right near the front of the grid for this one, in 3rd position after finishing in 8th place last time. And he's taken the lead and not looked back since then. He's got 2.7 seconds over Toby Ward, and he's going to have company soon because Stephen Codman's in there, Dennis Van Beelen also, and then Ben Idris Abdullahi also trying to get past Stephen Burns. So there's BMWs on the way through, there's Aston Martins and a Mercedes as well. Van Beelen is very close to the back of Codman as they get onto the start-finish straight, but we look here at Ben Idris Abdullahi getting a lovely run down the inside of Stephen Burns. They remain side by side now. Race 1 winner Guy Edwards is in the slipstream of Chris Jennings. Hopefully no nosebleeds for Chris in this race either. And just behind them, Tom Stanley, he's having a good recovery as well. He had a interesting race earlier on with a little incident here and there. He's started 13th in this one. He's now up to 9th spot. What a mixed order we've got here from these sprint races. That's what I love here, is that it really throws the order about as Stanley lobs one up the inside of Chris Jennings. They now remain side by side again through the S's.
Yeah, I think Stanley's just going to find himself slotting up ahead. Yes, he does, old Chris Jennings. Meanwhile, then behind, Toby Johns is in a lovely little tussle with Taylor Adams. Careful again, leaving cars through there. Please let me get through. I thought for a moment we were going to see Peyton Williams get himself involved into the picture. He's now finding a little battle with Toby, but great to see Toby up there fighting, not afraid to mix it up with some of the sort of quicker driver, I think it's fair to say. The drivers that we are often seeing right at the sharp end. Where's Stephen Burns going?
To the beach, by the look of it. He rejoins the circuit, but Stephen way off the road there. Tom Stanley went past him. Oh, he had to get on the brakes just to tilt it in, and unfortunately, that was never going to work. Guy Edwards behind just had nowhere to go. He just did other than into the back of him. Can't really blame Guy for that, I don't think.
I lost it on the way and had to get onto the brakes to sort of calm the car down, but in doing so, like I say, left the car behind with no real evasive action to make other than just getting to the back of him and sadly send him into a spin.
Lewis Ward has moved up the most places so far, and he's actually right behind the car that's lost the most places so far. He's gained 11. Stephen Burns has lost 11 so far. They're going to change that, and it's now going to be 12-10 in the, well, not quite favour of Stephen Burns, but look at that. He's going all the way over to the right-hand side. He says, I don't want to lose another one, Lewis, please. Lewis tries to go late on the brakes. Stephen goes in a little bit hot as well. Closes in on Ryan Penny, fellow BMW driver. As cars come out of the pit lane now, I think that was Mark Johnson making his way out. I think there was a little bit of contact there between Burns and Ward. There was certainly the sound of it as it's all checking up a lot. Lewis jinks out at the last moment there. You could see the input from the outside, but look, he's left himself open here. Taylor Adams gets the run. That inside line does not work, does it?
I'd love to see this though from the likes of Stephen Burns saying, I'm not going to move out of your way. I know you've won titles here before, but I'm not just going to fall off the circuit to let you through. You've got to make it work. And credit to Stephen, he's fighting for a great result, isn't he? Trying to get up into that maybe 14th place, because he could probably get a position off of Ryan Penny.
Throws it up the inside now, does Taylor Adams though, and he's made the move. There's a car off the road, and that is Martin. No, it's not. It's Ben Idris Abdullahi. I thought it was Martin Kenyon for a second there, but my eyesight let me down. Ben Idris Abdullahi off the road. Ben was going really well in 7th. That's a horrible one. Has he had a similar moment to what he had before? He was in P4. Oh, he's hit Stephen Codman, and then... Whoa. Now, I don't know whether that was Stephen just recovering from that, or whether that was retaliation or not, but that didn't look great. It didn't look great initially, that, did it?
It didn't look great, but I think what he does, he gets contact from him behind and then has to save it. You can still see he's turning the wheel right, but he doesn't want to put too much steering lock on.
Yeah, in case it goes around again.
Just in case it goes around again, because you get heat into these tyres so quickly, and that can cause more accidents. So you can see from the onboard, it didn't look deliberate at all. It just looked like a massive snap that he had to get the car corrected in a straight line was what sort of put him into the position to have that incident.
This is Tom Stanley, currently in 4th place. 9 places gained to get there. Ahead of Stephen Codman. Dennis Van Beelen on home soil here is trying to go for another P2 finish. He was absolutely buzzing about it in the Discord earlier on. And he wants to do it again here. He's against Toby Ward, and he's going to have the run around the outside, and he's going to get that place, is Dennis Van Beelen. Brilliant stuff. The Aston Martin goes through. Toby Ward's still in a podium spot, though. Toby, don't forget, had a podium recently and was absolutely buzzing about that as well. He got 3rd place in round 10 of the championship. And he wants to get another one here, really playing the game with these reverse grid races. Got a few Mercedes queued up here. Dan McCauley at the back of this with Chris Jennings and then Matthias Sem. It's almost like they've put all 3 liveries together, actually, when you've got that. You've got the silver from Chris Jennings. You've got the sort of matte and glossy effects on Dan's Apex Racing Academy car. And then Matthias Tem's got the sort of other green highlights as well. They're all like culminations of one another here. They've all been to the same vinyl shop, it seems. But great racing in the entire field here. Ben Shalcraft just behind these guys. He's lost a few places from where he started, but he won't be too upset with that. As Lewis Ward gets a run on Taylor Adams, who also tries to get a run on Ryan Penny. But Ryan, again, much like we saw from Stephen Burns, is not just going to roll over and let these guys by.
No, he isn't, which is, well, what we'll have to see there. Not obliged to, of course, but I think with that run out of the corner now, it's going to be Taylor Adams gaining a position on BMW of Ryan Penny, already ahead into the braking zone. Nice and late. Oh, Lewis Ward, he's being very opportunistic there. I don't think there was a lot of room left for him, but he tried to find the space regardless. And now with the outside line, in towards this long left-hander, should be able to secure the position, and he does so.
Nicely done that by Lewis Ward. A very, very confident send up the inside into Tarzan. Toby Johns looking down the inside of down the inside of Ryan Penny there. Doesn't really want to do that there. He has to get on the brakes even earlier there as well as they go into Shevlak. He's tapping the brakes on and off quite a bit through the corner. I think it was he and Ian Pfeiffer that came together last time out at Catalonia. I cannot remember actually. There was a few coming together. Now that Ian Pfeiffer was in one of them, he was very unhappy about it. As well, he looks down the inside of Toby. Toby just about gives him room. And now Ayrton Williams is in the picture as well, just behind. And then we also have, I think that's Mark Johnson, but he's a lap down now, is Mark. So he's of no direct threat to these guys. Seems like nobody at the front is a direct threat to this man, though. Jake Cranstone, still 16 and, well, about 3/4 left on the clock. And Jake is, well, just making an example of this, isn't he? He's doing a brilliant job.
What an evening as well from the driver in second place, Dennis van Beelen, making yet another podium potentially for himself here tonight. The Dutchman really seemingly at home, at his home circuit. And obviously the other Dutchman, Matthias Tem, he's up one place from where he started and trying to gain another. Up on the inside of Stephen Codman. The two of them continuing to battle side by side, but Matthias with the inside line. And then once more able to slot himself up ahead now into 6th place. So seemingly going well for the two Dutchmen in attendance tonight. Toby Johns once more battling away with likes of Ayrton Williams. And Ayrton again trying to go for the inside line, but it never works through that corner, does it?
No.
Just because you can't get the punch out of the corner onto the flat out sort of S's that we come to now.
And look how much time they've both lost there. Ian Pfeiffer having to go around him and take a compromised line. They've both lost so much momentum as a result of that. Mark Johnson might be a bit frustrated by that because he's only there just to sort of sit and watch at this point. He's thinking, what are you doing, boys? You're slowing yourselves down, and me, so unnecessarily here. But I think Ayrton Williams maybe felt like he had to get out of the way of that there. We saw Toby a moment ago just tap the brakes mid-corner a little bit in front of this man, Ian Pfeiffer. I think maybe he was worried about a little bit of that. And you can see Toby just turning the McLaren in nice and smooth through there that time round. And actually Ian runs wide on the exit, has a little bit of a dance and a shimmy over the curbs. Still not able to close back in, but Toby is then going to close in on Ryan Penny. Toby's actually the biggest mover in the field. No, he's not. 12th place is gained for him, but Lewis Ward has gained 14 so far. Lewis is up into 13th position. But I tell you what, still a while left to go in this race yet, Ed, so I think they need to still settle into a bit of a rhythm.
Yeah, it's just not a good rhythm for John Roberts at the moment. He finds himself now in 23rd after that little moment in towards the chicane. It's just, like you say, about getting rhythm, and it seems to be very disrupted rhythms for a lot of these drivers. Ian Pfeiffer chucking one up the inside.
Oh, I think he was letting
it
through.
Letting it through, is it? Sorry, it was chucking it through him. Obviously, the two Saddle iRacing teammates not wanting to lose time to one another. And now, once more has Toby Johns in his sights, but just not able to get the run out of corners where it counts.
No, that's the thing, and I suppose that's one of the main weaknesses of the Aston Martin is knowing where you're able to get the most out of it and where the traction controls does start to kill you. This is a painful corner in GT4 cars because they do handle well to these machines, but they have quite a bit of high speed oversteer. Their downforce and the aerodynamics that they have doesn't really give them sort of prototype levels of downforce at high speed. And it seems like through Shevlak it really is a bit painful as Ayrton Williams is going to go up the inside now. Toby Johns tries to make it work. Toby gives him room. He's run wide on the exit though. And can Ayrton get the run? Oh, Ian Pfeiffer, another moment in the background. But yeah, the outside line works for Toby Johns.
It was just far too tight into that corner as well. You saw him right over on the left-hand side onto the brakes, and you're never going to be able to carry that momentum through the corner. We're able to slow down the car enough to get the apex met. So from Ed Williams, he's just not able to find the way through, but credit to Toby Johns, he's put up a great defensive drive without being overly aggressive and losing time to the car ahead.
There's been a change of podium positions here as Tom Stanley has got past Toby Ward recently for P3. Toby's now under threat from Guy Edwards and Matthias Tem in the Mercedes and, well, the McLaren and the Mercedes respectively. They're side by side here. This is going to work out for Tem. Oh, a bit of contact on the way in though. Bit of contact in the middle of the corner as well. Oh, that was scruffy, gentlemen. Very scruffy indeed. Not quite sure what happened there with Guy, but he seemed to straighten up on the way in.
It just simply went almost through Matthias at a point there, so I couldn't understand the frustration and the flash of the headlights from Matthias, because it seemed like he was on the outside and then all of a sudden got muscled out of the way by the looks of things. But Guy Edwards, we know he's going to be hungry for a good result. We know he's got the pace as well to get that good result because he won the first race of the evening. But Matthias, he's going to want to try and make it another podium, isn't he? Can really just see it up the road. Not that million miles away. Currently occupied by Tom Stanley in the Prestenda Nomad Aston Martin. Great drive as well from Tom thus far to get up into that podium place.
Oh, Ian Pfeiffer had to back out of that just there because he had the Aston Martin of Ayrton Williams just across his nose. Mark Johnson has decided to move out of the way there because Ben Idris Abdullahi is coming through as Ayrton Williams, I think, getting very frustrated here behind the McLaren of Toby Johns. And now Idris Abdullahi's in on this. Don't forget, all these guys, Satellite Racing and Chicane Online Racing, are friends. But Idris Abdullahi trying it round the outside of Ian Pfeiffer. The two Frenchmen come together, rubbing panels as they go through the penultimate corner, but still no one able to get past Toby Johns.
This is giving Toby Johns the perfect breathing space he needs, because now he can focus on the car ahead. Finally, he can try and see about getting ahead of Ryan Penny. Looking to the inside line now in towards Tarzan, but just not committing onto the brakes, realising that he wasn't going to be alongside enough to make the move stick. But this is finally a little bit of breathing space, a little bit of a moment where Toby can now focus on the car ahead instead of having to look in his mirrors as Abdullahi.
Oh, that was close.
That was close between Pfeiffer. But you can tell that the two of them are talking, that they're coordinating it. Maybe not so much on the exit. Whoa! Tell you what, that was dicey stuff, but I think we're going to calm it down, hopefully.
They're coordinating.
For the final 10 minutes, yeah.
Coordinating hitting each other is what they're doing. They're coordinating incident points. Martin Kenyon has just lost a spot here to Taylor Adams. Taylor's BMW goes through up into 13th place. Lewis Ward has now gained 15 spots in this race, having a fantastic drive. Tom Stanley, by the way, who's now in third, has gained 10 positions to get there. So he's had a really good run from 13th on the grid. Dennis Van Beelen started 9th. Jake Cranstone started 3rd. So all the guys at the front have gained decent spots to get up there as Guy Edwards is around. And hopefully not as a result of contact with Matthias Tem, because we saw contact between the two of them earlier. We saw frustration, and this is going to look mighty suspect if there's contact involved from the car behind. It's not going to be because he's miles away. Oh, Guy clips the curb and bounces off the back of Toby Ward at the same time, I think, there. Very, very odd incident indeed, but I think Guy just carrying that much more speed than Toby into the corner just got caught a little bit off guard by it. Apologies to Matthias Tem, but I mean the two of them were close together before, so one can assume. Toby Johns down the inside of Penny gets it done. Ayrton Williams can't find a gap, and now Toby's got even more breathing room.
Oh, I love this stuff. This is a great race as well from Toby, isn't it? It's really showing that he's been able to develop not just his pace to get up the order, but also his racecraft, and I think that's been one of the skills that Toby's really sort of developed in his time with Sim Racing Magazine, is his ability to defend and race and keep drivers at bay without being too overly aggressive. He just knows exactly where to place the car without losing too much time, because throughout all of that battling, he didn't really lose any time to Ryan Penny, and then as soon as he had some space to work with, got about with business. Now sees himself up into 15th place. Now though, we have Chris Jennings racing and duking it out with Dan McCauley, and with a bit of an attempt of a move around the outside, but I don't think he's going to have enough of an overlap in towards the chicane. I think it's better of it. In behind as well, Ben Chalcraft with potentially yet another top 10 finish as it stands for him, up in 9th place. Ooh,
Dan
again.
and Chris both did that then. Both
shows how much they're pushing. They're really going for it now, aren't they, the pair of them?
They absolutely are. Look at the amount of dust on the circuit. You can see as well over a lot of tonight, the drivers will be using their windscreen wipers quite a bit. You can see the marks at the top of Dan's windscreen where he's used the windscreen wipers before now. This is a very dusty circuit when it gets blown around. And, I mean, it's just natural here at Zandvoort, but even in the sim, it becomes very dusty on the circuit. That sounds like a car trying a manoeuvre there. You could hear Ben Chalcraft on the left-hand side of Dan McCauley. That's opened it up to Matt Slight. The two of them remain side by side on the exit, but Ben's going to have the run down towards turn 2. Is Matt going to keep his nose down the inside? Yes, he is. But now he's going to be on the outside line. That's going to give him the run, but no, Ben Chalcraft puts the car in the way, says thank you very much, and no thank you, sir. And away he goes. But still, great progress by the Dutch drivers in the field. Dennis van Bielen and Matthias Tem taking up half of the top 4 at the moment. This is a very, very promising result, but Tom Stanley, very under the radar drive here considering the brightness of that car, but he's doing a really standout job here. I think the Prestanda Nomad guys have got a podium from earlier in the season. It was Tom Stanley.
Watkins Glen,
round 4. It was a second sprint race of the night, so Tom Stanley, again, another one that's been able to play the game here with these reverse grids and do a good job.
Yeah, he's going to get hunted down now, though, by Matthias Tem. He's had some great pace, Matthias, so far.
Oh,
and I think,
no.
Was it on the last... Oh, no, Abdullahi's around. Was there contact? Did he just brush against the side, potentially, of the McLaren?
I think Toby Johns just didn't know he was there. Ooh. And Idris Abdullahi, just in front of this, gets turned around. Let's have a look. Oh, there's a severe amount of netcode in. It hides nicely behind the little antenna, but yeah, I think there's a heavy amount of netcode there.
Comes from a little ways back as well on Toby. Toby's kind of already committed at that point to trying to at least make the corner. Does afford some space on the inside to sort of lessen the blow, but yeah, it's very tricky to get that big beefy BMW stopped in time, unfortunately. Meanwhile, Jake Cranstow out in front. This is the race you'd be hoping for, isn't it? To really grab a hand on the title already. Still some way to go, but tonight has been the perfect night for the man who came into this championship with, what was it, a 30-point lead?
Yeah, 33 or something, I think it was. He was really far ahead in the championship, especially as you get 25 points for winning a endurance race, and for either of the sprint races you get 20 points for winning as well. So yeah, Jake has certainly got a race meeting in hand effectively, which advocates even more the need for a drop round in a season as long as this. I know a lot of the drivers ask for them, but Jake is, well, he's not exactly played the game that hard tonight, because he's not sort of sandbagged or anything to get reverse grid. He had an incident that dropped him down a few places while battling for the lead of the race, and he then found himself in a very fortunate position to make hay while the sun shone. This is the battle in the edges of the top 10. Lewis Ward now 17 places gained. I mean, his teammate Dan McCauley's going to see him behind him and think, where on God's earth have you come from? Like, he was 10 places further back than me. Dan will be thinking.
Bit of rallycross there from Ben Chalcraft. All 4 wheels onto the gravel coming through that final, or that second to last corner, I should say. Really pushing hard. Got some maybe off tracks that he's been keeping in the bank for later on when he really needs to use them. I know nothing about doing that. Ignore what I was doing in the second race of yesterday's events. It was something that the drivers do know how to use. Obviously, they get an allocation from iRacing from incident points before you basically have to serve a drive-through penalty and then disqualification. So it seems that, at least for now, Ben Chalcraft is maybe playing it a bit smart.
Yeah, when Jim, the crew chief, told me last night I had 5 incident points, my girlfriend watching at the time asked me what they were and what they meant. And when I said that I had 17, she said, oh great, 12 to play with then. Instantly knew what the game was, what the gimmick was, and yeah, knew how hard I could push for the rest of the race. But yeah, it certainly is something that you have to master it. You can't take too many risks, especially if you're in a battle as well, because just one little bit of contact, regardless of whose fault it is, can land you up to 4 incident points. Great battle there between Taylor Adams and Guy Edwards. Just behind, there's another McLaren in the battle in the form of Martin Kenyon. He's got Ayrton Williams for company right now. Nils Core is into the points. He's going to be on for an 18th place finish here. He hates these sprint race nights, doesn't he?
Yeah. He does not seem to get on well with them whatsoever. I'm just keeping my eyes as well towards the podium battle. Matthias Tem, fastest driver out on the circuit last time around, even faster than Jake Cranstone, our race leader, with a 1 minute 40.73. Matthias Tem really has put the afterburners on now and is just kicking on, trying to close up to Thomas Stanley. But Thomas Pace, he's managing it well. He's not dropping too much time on lap upon lap. He's got 1.8 seconds buffer. He can afford to give up potentially half a second lap and still come through with that podium finish. But what an evening it has been for the two Dutchmen as well. I think it's fair to say Dennis van Beelen, he was second in the first race and is going to make it yet another trip to that second spot on the podium. A wonderful drive from him. Just 2 minutes to go. Jake Cranstone as well. What an evening it's been for his title.
Yeah, indeed. He's really getting there now, getting very close to taking the championship. This is only going to strengthen the gap. I will try and figure out the points here, but I know that in just this race alone, if you look at where Taylor Adams is, down in 12th position with the sprint race points, he's going to gain 9 points. So this race alone is going to give Jake an extra 11 points over him. And earlier on, I think Jake was, what, 7th position, while Taylor, I don't think scored any points, did he, in the first race. So Jake has been just sublime, really. Absolutely sublime. And he continues to be so. Lewis Ward is all over the back of Ben Chalcraft, who's just had a shout in the YouTube chat. Kenjo is in there. Good to see you, mate. Hope you're doing well. Kenjo, Ben, and the likes of Mike Murphy, all good friends of mine that have come over from the wonderful top-down Indy race circuit superstars, with the likes of Nico Minardi as well, multiple world champion. As Guy Edwards is into the pit, said race 1 winner. Barney's got 2 arms. Well, I mean, most people do, but Barney's got another one growing out the pit wall over there. 2 Barneys.
Is it maybe bring your son to work day? He's got a mini Barney out there, waving a little flag out there for him. Work experience.
I like that. Yeah, work experience for mini Barney. Hopefully he doesn't throw a Barney. Ben Chalcraft, though, is very much in the top 10. And he's got an Apex Racing Academy Mercedes either side of him, so he gets a study delivery from the front and from the back. Dan McCauley, 7 places gained. Lewis Ward, 17 places gained. And we've got a car off. Certain Williams, he's off the road fighting Martin Kenyon here. He's had to take to the grass to avoid something. He's still down the inside of the McLaren. Oh, has a bit of a bounce. Down towards Sheevlack he goes. Still on the inside. Careful of the glue. They call it the glue because the cars get so stuck together. And he's through past Martin Kenyon. Ian Pfeiffer wants a piece of that as well now. Martin has to dab the brakes, I think, there, because the car was getting away from him. Oh, he's gone in hot and he's hit the back of the McLaren and he's around. He's at the back of the Mercedes, I should say. And the McLaren is round. He gets back up to speed, does Martin. Guy Edwards goes through. But out of the final corner, put your hands together, everybody, because for the 3rd time this season, Jake Cranstone wins in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. And let's not let it overshadow an amazing night on home soil for Dennis van Beelen. 2 second places in one night. I'm buzzing for Dennis. He's such a lovely lad. Tom Stanley with a podium as well. And Matthias Tem, 3rd place and 4th place on home soil as well. Great night for the Dutch drivers. A great top 5 as well for Toby Ward. Stephen Codman 6th, Chris Jennings 7th, ahead of Dan McCauley, Ben Chalcraft. Lewis Ward completes the top 10. Regenta Sim Racing 11th and 12th, ahead of Ayrton Williams. Great recovery by Ayrton, 11 places gained. Toby Johns 13 places gained in that one. He finishes ahead of Nils Kaur, who is 16th. But Jake Cranstone, once again a winner in the championship, and his 3rd win of the season after a run earlier in the championship of 5 podiums on the bounce and 6 podiums in 7 races, means that he has a substantial gap at the top of the standings now, and it's going to take a lot to stop him, isn't it, Ed?
It really will do. It's been such a perfect night for the man who came into this with already a sizable lead in the championship. And well, if you need to have a night like this at the end of the season or towards the tail end, take your hand off every day of the week. What a drive that has been by Jake Cranstone. Keeping himself out of trouble has been pretty much the name of the game for him after, well, I think it's fair to say, the midpoint of the season, and in doing so, he's gotten a very handy result. Let's not forget, though, he did have to come back from adversity. He didn't have it all his own way. Let's not forget that little moment earlier where he was almost taken out of the picture, wasn't he? And then all of a sudden, fights his way back up into reverse grid contention and reaps the rewards.
He really does. Fantastic night where Jake is concerned for his championship. He wins round 14 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. Dennis Van Beelen completes an epic night. Probably the biggest scorer tonight, actually. Dennis with 38 points. What an evening. Tom Stanley in third place. He'll be really happy to get another podium for Prestanda Nomad. Matthias Tem finishes in fourth. Great night for him as well. Third and fourth places. Toby Ward, a top 5. More big points for him. Stephen Codman, Chris Jennings as well. Those guys all having brilliant evenings in that second race. Dan McCauley was 8th ahead of Ben Chalcraft, who got 2 top 10s. Never mind your performance not being bright tonight, Ben. Top job. Lewis Ward finishes in 10th position. And then we have Matt Slight and Taylor Adams together with Ayrton Williams in 13th. Ian Pfeiffer next up with Toby Johns. Boy, he made everybody work for every position tonight, did Toby. And then behind him, Nils Kaur. Coming into this second in the championship, he will not be too pleased with how his night has gone. Martin Kenyon 17th ahead of Guy Edwards in 18th place. Ryan Penny 19th and Ben Idris Abdullahi completes the top 20. Then we had Lee Berridge and Paul Goffin ahead of Heinz Mayer and John Roberts with Rob Sharp and Kim Such, the last cars on the lead lap. Then we had Mark Johnson in the 27th spot, a lap down, and Simon Price with 28th spot, and Stephen Burns out of the race. So, let's have a quick chat with some drivers, shall we? It doesn't look like Jake Cranstone is in there at the moment, but there is one driver that is in the interview waiting room that I definitely want to speak to. It's the biggest point scorer of the night, and I want to have a chat with Dennis Van Beelen. Dennis, well done, first off. I mean, we knew you were buzzing after the first race of the evening, finishing second, but to do it twice on the trot, you must be over the moon, mate. You must be vibrating.
No, the roof is keeping me down at the moment. I would be on the moon at the moment. Yeah, it's amazing. P2 in the first race was kind of down to, well, bad luck of the guys ahead. And then P2 in this race was just all on pace. The only one I couldn't catch was Jack. So yeah, this race felt really good.
Did you feel confident going here tonight? I know that a lot of people say that, you know, you have a home race in the sim, but it's not always the track that you're the best at. So was it one that you felt you had good pace at already?
Yeah, the moment the calendar came out at the beginning of the season, I put a big red circle around today, because I knew this. If there would be a track, it would be this one. I know it by heart. So yeah, this would have been the track, if any, to get a podium.
I was going to say,
and I got it twice.
Yeah, absolutely. What a fantastic night for you, mate. And the Aston Martin seemed like it was quite a good car around there this evening, though. It seemed like it, even though we know how much of a nightmare it can be on the traction control, it seems like it still had the capability in the corners and absorbing the curbs.
Yeah, it's great, especially on the curbs. It actually made overtaking quite hard because it doesn't have the top speed. So, for example, Toby was defending really, really amazing, and it took a good 6 laps and a really unusual overtake into turn 6 and 7 before I could actually get past. Because normally at Zandvoort you would go for turn 1 and 11, and there's no way because I just didn't have the top speed. So it had to be there. And luckily he made a mistake out of the big banked one, turn 3. And I could go past. It's a really unusual overtaking spot, but
hey, if it
I'm
works.
happy I could do it.
I was going to say, if it works,
Exactly.
it works, Dennis. Well, well done on a fantastic night, mate. Is there anyone that you'd like to give a thanks to before we let you go?
Yeah, definitely to Ben. He had a bit of a bad night. He had good pace, but he was a bit unlucky. And chicane on iRacing, and why not shout out Nils Kaur and you guys, of course, because the league is amazing.
Thank you very much, Dennis. Always a pleasure, mate. Go and enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll hopefully speak to you again very soon. Well done.
Yeah, have a good evening, guys.
Dennis Van Beelen, absolutely over the moon after that one, and someone else that'll be over the moon is the man that won the second race of the night, Jake Cranstone. Jake, not as much work to do in the second one as you had in the first one there, but it was a whirlwind of a night, wasn't it?
Yes, it was a crazy couple of races. Yeah, the second one was just sort of get your head down and get it done, but you always seem to speak to me after I've had sort of bittersweet victories after incidents that have happened.
I mean, yeah, we try not to make a theme of it, but I suppose it's one of those things in racing, isn't it, sometimes, that, well, there's so many circumstances that go in people's favours and sometimes not.
Yeah, I mean, me and Etten were just talking in the room there, and I mean, we were saying, you know, the track, I think, produced some interesting driving from everyone. I mean, we're not pointing fingers at anybody, but it was just crazy, the amount of incidents and, you know, door banging that was happening. And I think it was the track, you know, people were getting desperate, it's hard to overtake. And in the incident I had with Ayrton, it was just a shame, really. I mean, if we were together, there was no one around me, I probably would have backed out of it and let him have it, thinking of the bigger picture, but Guy was right on my bumper. So it's just tight pack racing on a twisty circuit. It's going to crop up some incidents.
Yeah, absolutely, and you know, with the sprint racing, like people say, sometimes it's because it's a bit more of a quick fire evening. There's a bit less patience on show in the race. But talking about the bigger picture, though, well, you have a very considerable lead at the top of the championship now. You must be feeling a bit more confident with just 2 races left to go.
Yes, yeah, it's good. It's always good to have a buffer. I've been in this position, fortunately, a few times in other leagues, so. I know how to play it, even though it's my first season here, so I'll just do what I need to do to bring it home now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's certainly something that we've seen you do before, Jake, so I look forward to seeing how you get going with the final couple of races. Is there anyone that you'd like to give a quick shout out to before you go?
Yeah, shout out to Ellen, Ali and Dave. Dave, hope you get well soon. Yeah, thank you to you guys, everyone running the championship. It's great to be a part of and really enjoy it every week.
Well, it's always a pleasure, Jake. Great to speak to you, mate, and we love seeing the performances, and hopefully some more fun at Gilles Villeneuve to come. It'll be tight and twisty there as well.
Yes, if Zolder's anything to go by with the curbs in the Porsche, not looking forward to it.
Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed for everybody, mate. Have a good one, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thank you, cheers.
And we only have time for one more quick interview, but we're going to bring in the birthday boy himself. Hopefully not too frazzled after that one, Simon. Not the perfect second race for you with the incident earlier on, but your first points of the season. You must be buzzing.
Yeah, I mean, drove a blinder in the first one, had a meltdown in the second one. Bon appetit.
I was going to say, so simple night really, isn't it, in the GT4 challenge? But what was it like overall your evening? Because it seemed like wherever we looked, you were involved in some sort of battle.
I had a good night in spite of what happened in the second race. So I felt like I was driving really well. I feel like I'm driving the best I have all season. I mean, it only took all season to get there, but I definitely found some improvements while I was practicing this, and I was looking forward to tonight. I like the circuit. And yeah, off the back of the first race, I thought maybe I could get something else out of this. But I guess just being surrounded by much faster drivers always puts me a little bit on edge. And then coming out of the hairpin, I see, was it Kim or Hines had already started spinning, and I started to go as well. I want to apologise to Lee because he had nowhere to go because I was turning in front of him as well. So, you know, it could have gone a bit better from that point, but I'm not going to be unhappy tonight because I've been striving for points all season and finally managed to get a few.
Well, it was fantastic to see it, Simon. We were absolutely buzzing for you in the commentary box. Is there anyone that you'd like to give a quick shout out to before you go, before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to my wife. She came running down the stairs and gave me a kiss after the first race, so that got me G'd up for the second one. That's probably why I was pushing a bit too hard. But yeah, obviously you guys for putting on such a great race, and all the other drivers. It's a real learning experience being surrounded by drivers of such high strength field. It's an incredible learning experience. It's a bit of a cauldron to get bored away in, but I've learned a lot from watching all these great drivers, and I want to give a shout out to them for such a wonderful season so far.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure for us to have you in it, mate. And I mean, unfortunately, we're looking at the slow-mo of the accident right now because typical timing of the sim. But thanks very much for joining us, though, Simon. Enjoy the rest of your birthday, mate, and we'll hopefully speak to you again soon.
Cheers. Take care.
Cheers. The lovely Simon Price gets points for the first time in the series on his birthday. Brilliant story indeed, Ed. But what a busy night of racing that was. Goodness me.
What a night indeed. Tonight which saw Guy Edwards get his first victory of the season, Simon Price's first points of the season, and then, of course, a big swing in the championship in favour of Jake Cranstone. This was a race that I'm sure that many drivers will look back as pivotal in this late stage for all of their title ambitions, be them good or bad. But I tell you what, a lot of the drivers, especially some of the ones in that second race, saying roll on Gilles Villeneuve, which I think we'll be doing the same, Chaz, because I cannot wait to see these guys back out in action again.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a really, really good final 2 races of the season. And hopefully you all enjoyed it, everybody. Thanks once again to all of the championship sponsors. Thanks very much to Orris Digital, Crockery Direct, Derbyshire Holiday Homes and Bespoke Shelters, to all the viewers, all the drivers, to Ed as well, and everybody involved in the championship. That's all for now, though. Join us in a week's time when we head to one of the finest racing circuits in the world, I think I'll have you find. And we will see you there, everyone. Have a good night.
4 French drivers at the French Grand Prix trying to win this on the final lap. The 3 wide again, Guillaume down the inside. Guillaume moves across, they're both in front of Milan and Pouget.
But before you know it, we find ourselves here in the very final race of the competition.
And then they see truck racing and they think, this is crazy, you know, these are 5-ton machines, 1200 horsepower brake. Oh, look at that switchback. Oh, he's been mugged and a terrific show off. Ben Gregory now, I love it. 10.5 minutes gone. Senna Lanson tries to go for the race lead.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.